I have been led to believe that there is a clause in your contract that you get like a fat stack of cash if you win Worlds.
I watched Def when I started in 2020, and I believe I'm way better than him. So I want to play to him and prove it, you know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the EUphoria podcast ahead of the LEC playoffs.
Yeah, and as always, we are on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts if you want to try and find us.
And this week, of course, we're joined by Elyoya and Supa from the Mad Lions Koi.
Yeah, and we won't just be talking about...
We're working on this intro thing, Rob. Go. Just say in your own words, bro. You don't have to read it exactly.
Wait, are you starting the whole
thing?
No,
just go. This is what the people want. Is the chaos.
Oh, I appreciate it. All right. Well, we won't just be talking about Mad. We'll be talking about their upcoming best of threes as well.
And every single team in the best of threes, as well as, don't worry, we'll take accountability for our tier list as we're supposed to. Of course, if you want to jump to a specific part, whether it's about Mad or any of the best of threes, you can use the timestamps below. But for now, let's get into the episode. Welcome, Supa. Welcome, Elyoya. Glad to have you here. We're going to have to, I think, be embarrassed at some point in this podcast when we look back for most of it, when we look back at where we might have thought you would end up. But you've made it to top 8. You're here now, and it's good to have you. I'll start with you, Supa, because we've had Elyoya here a few times. How do you feel about like the first regular season? It's 3 weeks. It's a new league, new studio. What do you think overall?
First, I was always saying last year that I prefer this to be really fast. 3 weeks go play, because I feel it's like 2 months regular season was not worth it, not good. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have this format. And I'm pretty happy. As I said in some interviews, I'm enjoying a lot playing studio offline every single match. So I feel like I discover how to enjoy competition more than I didn't know.
Damn, I like that. Figured out how to enjoy it more. Oh, yeah, this is like same old for you. New studio, but you're used to. I mean, you did have to play during the COVID year, so I shouldn't say that you like,
yeah.
It's not like you probably take it for granted, but it's pretty normal. Was it weird for you setting foot on stage, like whole new team, completely different? Because you'd been mostly with the same crew, changing players here and there, but for like almost your entire career up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was different, but I enjoyed it more. I feel like this split, I don't know, I liked it more. It felt more like my vibe.
Yeah. Well, the results also, like solid overall, I would say. Definitely above, I think, a lot of people's expectations. Not maybe top team in the league quite yet, but rising up pretty quickly. What do you guys feel like went well for you? Like, what do you feel like you did well in the context of the regular season? What do you feel like you guys did poorly? Go either one of you. Who has strong feelings? Supa, I feel like you're a guy who has strong feelings on a lot of things in League of Legends. And I know you're probably holding back a lot of times because I'm...
what went good, I think... talking about myself, most likely, I think I secure a strong confidence playing. I think during my career, I choke a lot in official. They didn't manage well my confidence. And this year, I think I did it pretty well from the beginning. And I think we won a lot of matches because we were pretty confident that we were better than the enemy team. And at the same time, I think we were not consistent enough to make it every single match.
What was that process like for you then, and like trying to come into the LEC? Because you guys have been smashing bot lane. It's been really fun to watch. Nearly cursed there, but it's been really fun to watch. So what does that process look like to get the confidence and, play as incredible as you do, where you're actually playing hyper aggressive in that bot lane and showing that confidence?
I think we did the work before, at least me. I know Alvaro work less because he's less time with us. I knew that I was the best for me. From 1 year, I believe I was the best. I work more than the rest. I did it harder. I know how league works. So I already knew that I was better than the rest. But the process is to have the confidence, to prove it, to make it, believe it in official when you only have one chance, is one match. So it's like I saw a lot of podcasts, people that work, that want to be the best, that are the best. So I just kind of click watching one podcast about the confidence, and I just say, okay, if you want to be the best, you need to think you will do 18-0, you will stomp every match. Doesn't matter what happened, you just go, enjoy, and think you're the best. It's kind of like a click I got watching podcasts and people that I really want to be like them in terms of confidence.
That's sick. That's very cool.
Is there anyone in particular that you look up to that like inspires you for confidence?
I have some of them that are my favorite. First one is Michael Jordan, obviously. And the second one I think is EUphoria, because I always say I have one weakness during my career, that it was the confidence, how to make it to the official.
Yeah.
Because in scrims, doesn't matter, no?
Sure, yeah.
You can prove it so easy. So when I see him, when I know how he talks, how he acts, it's like this guy has what I lack.
Yeah.
So I just went to him, hear him. When I feel I'm not in a good mood, I just put him 40 minutes talking and I'm in the mood, Before Vitality match, I'm 40 minutes hearing what he talk, that he will destroy because he play for the title soon in 2 weeks, more or less. So I just hear him, bro.
It just gets you fired up. I can see it on your face. It's like gets you right in that right mindset.
So I feel like really in the same way, he talked when he said, I'm the best because I work hard, because I did all the job. Now I just need to, it's time, it's not, I need to prove it. It's, I work, I will be the best. Doesn't matter. It's time only.
There's no variable there. You are, it will be. There's no question, right? Yeah, I like that. And that's cool. And I'm glad that that's working for you, because I think we've had a lot of players who have, especially back in the Challenger days, who would come up to like EU LCS at the time and would just bomb, man. Like you look at the start of Hans Sama's career on stage, you look at the start of Upset's career on stage, those are guys who dominated Challenger. And it took them like almost a whole split or a whole year to really look like the same player in a lot of the games. And so the fact that you, especially because I think what a lot of people are going to remember if they weren't familiar with you domestically in Spain, is the EMEA Masters finals, right? Which I don't think was like your guys' best, even though you brought it to 5 games, I think that was dangerously close to being a 3-0, right? And so the fact that you came in the first 3 weeks here and you guys just start 2v2 killing like 50% of the lane opponents that you go up against, I was like, my first thought was, God damn it, we put them in D tier. My second thought was, this kid is like, you're amazing, you're cracked, you're popping off, both of you together. So I'm glad that it's working for you and it's clearly transitioning super well to stage. Oh yeah, when you came into this lineup, right? I think the initial, everyone looks at this team and is like, Elyoya's here. He's the leader. He's going to bring together this like band of rookies. Like people instantly like just project that narrative onto you because you are like the most veteran player on the stage in terms of LEC experience. How did you actually feel when you came into a lineup that for the most part had spent so much time kind of playing together and already knew a lot about each other?
I mean, honestly, I was I was excited because it's people I've been wanting to work with for a long time. So I was just excited. I don't feel like this extra pressure that people put on me of like, oh, he's the leader, he has to put them together. Like, I hate this label of rookies as of like, oh, you're a rookie, you need this help. I think that's fake in a way. Like, of course, I can help them in many other ways that I've been playing LEC, I've been playing Worlds, I've been playing international stages. They don't have this experience in which I can help them a bit. But at the end, like this rookie level, I think it's really not good for anyone. And as I was saying, like on my rookie year, I won the LEC twice. Like this is just an excuse that many people put to themselves to accept failure. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I was like that much of a help for them, but if in case they needed me or something, I would be there.
So did you kind of just come in and expect to hit the ground running and like be as good as you guys are at the moment? Or did you think, hey, look, we'll take winter, see how it goes, and then like spring is where we'll really start to come into it? Or were you just like, we're going to be the best as soon as we get here?
Well, I thought we would even be better than what we are showing, and partly is on me. I think I've not been performing as good as I thought I would. And I didn't have much expectations for this spring in a way that what I really wanted is for people to feel confident in the stage. I really didn't mind if we would lose this split or we would not have the best results this split, but we get used to stage. That's for me the most important because I know winter we're going to win. I know summer we're going to win. So those are the ones that I have my eye on. This one for me was more of like, let's get used to the stage. Let's make sure that we don't have this pressure because I'd rather lose this, let's say, be second this split and lose this fear or like this stage pressure rather than winning it and still having it for like international events or for the upcoming splits. So I didn't really have expectations, even though it still is to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that you just had that a very concrete goal, and I get it, especially when you talk about that's something that you struggled with in the past. But are you nervous at all as we get to further stages, like when it comes to Worlds, when it comes to Munich, that this is going to like rear its head again, and you're going to have to like that like a lot of the battles you're going to be facing aren't going to be about playing, you know, a Korean team on stage is going to be about like, can I just perform the level that I want to? Is that something that you think about?
And first of all, I'm a bit different with Elyoya because my expectation from the beginning was, if I don't lie, it's like it's going. My expectation was around 4th in the regular season. I don't care when to playoffs and win. I have the confidence about that. Obviously, about the international thing, I'm super hyped to play into the people that I learned watching. You know, I watched Dev when I started in 2020, and I believe I'm way better than him. So I want to play into him and prove it. You know, but then playing to Viper Gumayusi is like a dream for me because I played into them in solo queue and it's not the same. I really feel they are not giving his 100%. So I want to play into them. See, probably the first game they will me because because I never play into them.
Sure.
I know I won't play into them in official. Like I will have scrims. You know, it's like the LEC. You play first game, you see, hey, they play different, but second game you don't do the same into me. So I'm really hyped to play into them because if I want to step up and keep going when I reach there, obviously I have this process. I'm just thinking LEC right now.
Yeah.
I will improve way better as a player. Like, I'm so hyped because I feel like it's a different game, play there and play here because I feel here they don't put you that much travels in laning phase, in fights. And I see there how they play, and I feel like it's so beautiful that I'm so hyped.
I get that sometimes. We were talking about that the other day, Rob, which is sometimes it's like, especially as teams in Winter Split try to figure out how to play together, a lot of the team fights that we watch are just so hectic, and it seems like people don't have a firm grasp on what they need to be doing. And then you watch an LCK team fight, and you're like, or an LPL team fight that's like really well coordinated. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, they also have like just terrible team fights. But sometimes you get that one where you're just like, damn, that was clean. Like every single player knows what they had to do. And it's like the littlest things, like that 1 second on a Rakan W that like defines a fight, difference in cooldown, you know, and you're like, damn, that's elite. Like, because we feel it every year when we cast Worlds too, right? Like, I love LEC. It's fun. It's chaotic. As you get further into the tournament, the games get better and better, obviously. But international does and always will, I think, just hit a little different and feel a little different. So it's cool to see that. I like the confidence. Again, we're very far away from Worlds. MSI a little bit closer, but you guys win winter or spring, you're going. So we'll see. One step at a time. Phil, it's time for the part where we get embarrassed. Throw the Phil's our producer. Put the thing up, Phil. There it is. It's annoying because our photos also make us look even cockier than we are. So a lot that we were wrong about here.
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit. This is your opportunity to roast us, to call us out. I'm happy to defend why we put you guys low. But how do you guys feel in hindsight about our little ranking of the league? What's the one that's the most egregious, other than Mad Lions, Koi, and D tier? Other than Mad Lions, Koi, and D tier, what do you think we were like?
I'm BDS.
You think BDS?
Yeah, I think
so low.
They performed much better than C tier, so it's for
I
sure
agree.
The second one, no?
Yeah. I mean, BDS were good. I was skeptical that because they kind of just did one thing most of last year, and Worlds looked all right. So I was pretty shocked at how quickly Ice worked well into the team, and also shout out to Nuke.
Yeah,
the Nuke played like 3
Nuke's
champs
insane,
last year, and we spent a lot of time on the podcast. Or I spent a lot of time on the podcast being like, he's all right, and the mid lane talent pool wasn't great last year as a whole. So, and I wasn't that impressed, but this year he's sick. So credit to him. I feel like he got so much better. Between the time since we last saw
also
him.
Their team fighting just looks amazing. Like they're one of the teams where I look at their team fights, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys all have a plan in this, and it looks really sick. So I think BDS has done fantastically.
But we're mostly here to talk about us putting you D tier. And this is kind of my my question. Like, we put you there because a lot of rookies. We weren't sure how a lot of rookies. I know, and you feel like you already talked about how you feel like that label is like a little bit BS these days. And so I guess the question that I have is, do you feel like, based on how you guys played domestically from the Movistar lineup, do you feel like you guys should have been given more credit coming to the league? Do you think it was reasonable for people to doubt you, or do you think that you should have been like, if you actually watched our games and you had a brain, you knew we were going to like smash these guys?
I mean, I think people thought, if you see Movistar, they say, okay, this team, if go LEC, they can do the same, no? They can play the same.
Yeah.
I believe if Movistar play the LEC, the same roster this year, we will do like similar. Yeah. I think our team is the same. It's not like I play into better players, you can play like this, no?
Yeah.
So I think people think the ERL versus LEC is harder than it is. And I think it's most likely about confidence and how you manage mentally to be here. I think if you have this, the gap between the leagues, I don't think it's that hard when you are in the top of ERL.
So it's not just, so in what you're referencing here is that it's not just that Movistar lineup that could have done well. A lot of ERL teams, if they can overcome that mental gap, can do well. Do you think we should look at it as there being a much smaller gap? Because I think when we talk about it, usually we're like, there's a pretty decent gap there.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that's bullshit? Like, do you think that like the ERLs are actually way closer to LEC? Or let's say the top ERLs, the top teams are closer to the LEC?
Depend on the team, no? Because obviously playing to G2 is not the same than play into Fnatic, no? That is first and the second, no? I think the gap is pretty huge comparing to these teams. But I think top ERL teams can do it fine in LEC, no? For example, I think Movistar could do it pretty well in LEC. I think we could at least... It's just random info, no? And my thoughts. But I think we could be like top 5, top 4 last year. Obviously, you don't know, no?
You don't know for sure, right? Yeah.
At the end, but 3 players are top 4 and Isma is top 3, no? So
yeah. Well, I think it's important to figure it out because I think that we're always kind of a step behind when it comes to ERLs because our main focus is LEC. We obviously get all of EMEA Masters, and then when we find out you guys are coming in, we watch a lot of your games from earlier in the season. But our understanding of the gap between leagues is always a bit shaky because it's almost always based on how players that come up immediately perform in the league. And so, I think that what your team has essentially almost single-handedly forced us to do based on how you started. And there have been many teams that have been like more rookie lineups that have come up, and certainly you came up and you popped off, right? And it's a similar story even for Razork on Misfits. He had some 6 splits, but like never... in recent memory have we had an entire team of rookies in this ERL system, or mostly rookies. And again, also a veteran jungler who's led you to victory, as the narratives would tell us. So I think it's going to force me at least to kind of reevaluate how we rate teams coming out of ERLs and maybe stop looking at it as such a debuff or assume that there's such a debuff when it comes to playing on the LEC stage. Because I was one of those people that was like, this aggro shit, bro, I see this every year. Because I see it when like teams from Brazil come to play in play-ins, No flame Brazil. Mostly because I'm scared of you, not because your teams are great. But like, they'll have a team that's like really good at macro, but then you're like, but you're really good at macro in the CB law, bro. Yeah. Like, you're not really good at macro when you're getting lane checked immediately coming on stage. So when you guys were aggro, it's like, I love that. That's my preference. I would always rather see an aggro team than a macro team coming in, right? But that rarely translates. So I still am just blown away that you came in, you 2v2 kill people, you dive people, you pick fiddlesticks top, you do weird shit, you take risks in draft. I was like, this is what they dream about. Yeah. Like, you understand, from a narrative writing perspective, for the script writers of LEC, like the rookies coming in, reinventing the league, like they're salivating every week. They're like, oh my God, look at this team. It's a bounty. You brought Ebi with you too. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like the LEC dream. I don't want to hype you up too much here, but it's like, damn, there's like infinite content potential. And I hope that, like, I don't know about you, Rob, I kind of hope that this mentality and the credit that was given you to bring up this whole Movistar lineup continues with other teams. But the other big thing is the drafts.
Yeah, been sick. I think my biggest worry for you guys is because of how aggressive you play. If it went badly, it was just going to like all confidence is just shot, and then we just get nothing from you for a while. So I'm really glad that we got to see that. Well, one, it was successful immediately against like heretics and stuff where you smashed them. But two, it was like that we get to continue to see just your own individual skills. Absolutely amazing. And then as you say, the drafts are sick. But I think it's kind of the biggest question for me with the drafts is kind of like, because you've seen the video with Caps where he picks Vayne, right? And he's like, just trust, it's going to be fine. Like, this will all work out. Like, there definitely seems to be more of a game plan when it comes to your like Fiddlesticks tops or the Varus tops, whatever it might be. But is there that moment in draft where Mirroring just goes, lock me in random shit one, we'll see if this works? Or is there more of like a, hey, this is
what is actually the
what
process?
Is that process?
So, I mean, I would say our coach is the main psycho, actually. Like, he likes to do these kind of things in draft. So
Hell yeah.
it comes from before, like, in which either the coach tells him play this, or it's like he tells him, I want to play this. They talk and they sit on how they can draft it together or make. I mean, yeah, the player just tells him what he wants to play as a matchup, and Mirwin really likes these counter picks or really weird counter picks, and then he always finds a good draft with it. So yeah, I think we are both like, they are both really lucky to be together because they both love doing this thing.
But what's that like for you guys? Is it like,
what do you? How do you feel?
Fiddlesticks top here, and
you're locking in Nocturne Fiddle. Like you're both being affected by this. You're both playing in a game with Fiddle top, and clearly the coach and your top lane are having a great time together. Like, how does that feel for you guys?
I enjoy it. I like having this kind of picks. Like, same for the Ivern Barus. You know, it's like, I like it.
I just feel bad for the enemy ADC. it's the same. When we pick these things, I just think what I will think if I was enemy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you made it work, which is like kind of the big thing, right? And you continue to make it work. Do you feel like are you guys ever going to have to become the team? Like, let's say you started like 04, 05. Do you think you guys would become the team that's like, now we have to draft safe picks, meta picks, whatever the LCK is playing?
No, I don't think we would draft that, but I think if that's the case, maybe we would draft, let's say, front to back easy comps that are just easier, you know? Because sure, I mean, it's fun to see the Fiddle Nocturne, and I don't think it's even harder, but it's something we haven't practiced as much.
Sure. And it's got clear weaknesses, which we saw. Giannis like figured it out at some point. They just had a million blue trinkets, and they were like, "Wait a second! As long as we see Fiddle, this comp doesn't like it. It's harder to execute." You guys got some.
I think we missed. I think that day we were really off. Like, I think if only we played like a bit like with hands, like this game was insta win. Like, we were just not engaging. We were having Nocturne Fiddle within the single engage. It felt really like we were really discoordinated this game, and that's why we lost. I don't think they figured us out or anything. I think our biggest enemy is ourselves, and like in a big way, you know. It's like we have really ups and downs in which there is games that we don't show up, and there is other games in which we just don't give the enemy much chance to play. So I would say that in our case, we are really our biggest enemies.
Do you feel like that's, again, mental perspective? It sounds like, Supa, you've got this on lock these days. You got your podcast, you're ready to go. So is it more just like, obviously your early game feels super rehearsed. It feels like everyone knows what they're doing in early games. You guys are great at skirmishes. Is it just when you get to the mid game or when the game state becomes more complicated that you guys kind of like lose the plot? What is actually going wrong in those scenarios where you're not able to find those engages?
I think it depends, but sometimes we don't come to the game as mentally prepared as we should. Like other times we are just having a bad game, and then that translates into we are not so confident in this game, that we are not pulling off the engage. We don't know how to do this thing exactly, and then we are like having doubts. I would say it's really minor mistakes that are making us look way worse than what we really are. But mostly I would say it's mid-game is where the part where we lack the most right now.
Yeah. It seems like that's a problem that a lot of teams are trying to solve. And I think it kind of always has been the case in competitive League of Legends, and certainly in the LEC, because it's like you're only ever scrimming early game, really, right? Like, it's really hard to create good mid-game practice because it's like, what are you both just going to fake it and not hit each other until like 15 minutes? Like, no, right? It's just not, isn't how the game is played. So I think like G2 are focusing on it as well. It's interesting to hear that you guys are focusing on it, because I do feel like that's whenever you watch, and you might have felt this too at MSI, right? It's just like you guys played T1 so many times, right? Where, and like that, you had that sick Lee Sin game, and we were like, they're gonna do it, and then like 18 minutes rolled around and we're like, they are not gonna do it. What the hell just happened? Talking internationally very briefly, it's a bit of a tangent here. It's just like, do you feel like that's one of the big things that separates, I don't want to say the West, let's just say like European teams or teams that you played on internationally from LCK or LPL teams is Midgame? Does Midgame need to be like almost like a region-wide focus?
I mean, I think Midgame is a big thing, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest. I think teamfight is the biggest one. That it just comes to a point that doesn't matter that we are 5k gold ahead, that they just teamfight better than us and we lose the fight because they know what to do with their champs. They know how to fight around the terrain. Like they are way more conscious about the fight they are taking than us. So then they just sweep us because they have this guy in the flank and we don't have this guy in the flank. So the teamfight is going to look much easier for them than it is for us because we are not actively thinking how to fight them and where to fight them in all of these things that they are. So I would say that that's the biggest difference between Eastern and Western.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary thought because I think that like League, unlike a game like Valorant or whatever, like snowballing is like a core mechanic, right? And the idea that there are teams in the world or entire regions, at least from the representatives they send internationally, not every Korean team is fantastic. There's obviously some ones that are struggling. That like you can just make that 5k gold lead disappear by playing good enough, right? Like that's like almost unimaginable for most matchups in our league, right? Like outside of like G2, right, when they're playing at peak, it's pretty hard to think of a team who's going to beat a 5k gold lead at the stage in the game that we're talking about when we're talking about like your match versus SKT, right? Like that's most of our teams cannot do that. So that's a spooky thought. The last thing before we go further, Supa, because this is it got leaked, I guess is how it happened. I have been led to believe that there is a clause in your contract that you get like a fat stack of cash if you win Worlds. Like, what is that true? You know, I don't need all the details, and you can obviously you can gloss over this if you don't want to talk about it. But like, this is what you've decided? You're just manifesting Worlds victory via contract now?
I mean, when we were talking about the contract, obviously, and my agent told me we can do this, I didn't know you could do this, and he told me yeah, and they like it, so we just went on it. No, I think when you compete, like, you need to go for be the best, no? And for me, I want to win Worlds. I want to be the best. So it's like I didn't need to think a lot about this. It's just I want to win the boss, to win the Worlds, be the best. So I can get this. Take it.
Damn, I like it because it's like literally putting your money where your mouth is. Like any pro player can come onto the podcast and say, you know, we're going to win Worlds, right? And I think that's a good mentality to have. Like, that's obviously what everyone is shooting for in the same way like every caster should want to cast a World Finals. But to put some portion of your income in whatever way into that is crazy. And that's a commitment. And I'm just saying I like it. I like that attitude. I respect that you're like, you're coming out here, you're saying this is what I do, this is what I am, and you're backing it up in every way you can, at least.
I think it's important, no? Like, as I said, you need to think you will do it. It's not only... okay, I want to win it, but it's hard, you know, maybe I lose into Fnatic. No, you need to think, I will be champion the 18th of February and I will go MSI. You need to think like that. If not, I think it's impossible. You need to be arrogant, I think.
Damn, bro, you know the schedule better than I do. It's
18th of February. I didn't even know it was the 18th of February, yeah.
Damn, bro. Valentine's Day, win finals. That's the schedule right now. You got it unlocked.
I think
he's got his other date already planned, yeah.
I didn't see... I mean, thinking about that, I think I didn't show... I see one guy that is the best in his sport, being humble or being, okay, maybe I lose. I think when they are the best, they just think, I will win no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I think Faker is so humble in every interview, and he's obviously the one that everyone's going to point at. But I don't know what the difference is between how he thinks and like what he says. Because I feel like he's polite, he's respectful, and I get that. I think that's an angle a lot of pro players take, that they're all just, you know, the second that there's a camera on, you're going to be humble because, yeah, you don't want to invite, not everybody wants to invite the level of scrutiny that like you're probably going to invite by saying, look, I'm going to win Worlds, or look, I'm the best and I know I'm the best and I'm better than Deft, which was a bold statement to come back, and I respect it, you know, and I hope you have the opportunity to prove it. But yeah, obviously, I think for a lot of pro players, even if I know there are a lot that think differently, but are still going to go in an interview and say, I respect my opponents. I think that they are good because it's just an easier way to be. So we'll see. Let's bring up the playoffs bracket, Phil. Let's start to talk a little bit of the matchups ahead of you. We've talked a lot about you guys. Two sides of the bracket, G2 Giant X, Mad Lions, Koi, Fnatic. Then there's the other side with BDS, Team Heretics, SK, and Vitality. You guys obviously playing Fnatic first round. How do you feel about the matchup? What are your thoughts? What do you think that Fnatic have done well? What do you think that you guys can do better? Like, where's your head at when it comes to this? Is the matchup that's hardest to talk about, so keep as much under wraps as you want. It'll be easier when we talk about the other teams. But how are you guys feeling about the matchup? What are your thoughts?
I feel really confident. I think, yeah, we already beat them with me playing bad, so I think we are just gonna sweep them, or it should be a 2-0. So I'm really confident that we're gonna beat them.
Yeah. How do you feel about the bot lane, Matt?
I
see a grin. I see a grin. Well, is this your moment? Is this the moment where you're like, I respect them? What do you think?
I mean, I think it's a good match. I believe for me it's the second best team in the league, the harder. I think they are not super consistent. They are having problems that I think similar for how I see to World's problem, the LEC finals from September. So I'm pretty confident myself. I mean, how I see this, just I was checking yesterday my matches to see how it's going on because I wanted to play well from the beginning this year, and I checked that I didn't lose a single match that I played well, or I believe I played well. So I just need to play well, no? So to win, because we didn't lose a single match that I played well from my expectations. So play well, and there is no way we lose.
I like it. It's very. I respect your mentality, but it's like hard to deconstruct that. You're like, if I just play better, we win. You know, it's like I'm like, I don't know if I have a follow up because you're right, but also okay. You know,
if I am the best, I'm just the best. That's how it goes.
Yeah, it's like all the stuff. This is funny for me, but all the stuff say coordination, do this, guys, play fights like that, and in my brain, I'm like, just play well. What the. If you think you are confident you will play well, you will do everything you need to win. You don't need to think more.
When they talk about getting good at anything, people talk about like the mastery curve, and I don't know if you've heard of it, so I'll explain it briefly. And I'm just curious where you think that you are on it. So there's like when you start anything, you're unconsciously bad. So you're bad, but you don't know why. And then you get to the next step is you're bad and you know why. The next one is you're good and you know why, and the last one is you're good and you don't have to think about it. It's just like effortless. Like, where do you see yourself in the context of League of Legends? Like, are you still very conscious about all of the little things, thinking, focused on trying to improve, or at this point does improvement just feel like natural? Like you just know already. Oh, I already made a mistake. It's fine. It's whatever.
I mean, it was a hard process because as I said, I was having confidence problem during all my career. So right now I think I'm good. I know why I'm good, and I know how much I need to improve to be the best. And I see a lot of things every day. I see a lot of mistakes I do during routine, during I play but one solo queue, or I'm not playing focus 10 minutes or a solo queue. So like I know I'm good. Like I did more work than the rest. So I know I'm the best, but even if I'm the best, like you see 1,000 things you can improve. So I'm in the point that I think is a professional should be like.
Yeah. Always looking at why
you have confidence and you see how much you need to improve, and you are not being that you think you are good, so you don't work that I mean it's how I feel, but in Europe there is a lot of pro players like this, and I think this is a big problem of Europe. So I will just keep going, if I lose to Fnatic, I won't lose my confidence, I will be there. It's just time, work.
You'll be there no matter what. I got you.
And we work more than or 12 hours per day. So
yeah, I was nervous when we started this podcast because you were pretty reserved when you came in. We're chatting with you. Obviously, we've had a lot of time to work with Elyoya, and we're just going. You're just going, man. I thought so respect. I'm impressed, man. You know exactly where you're at, where you want to be. Yeah, I'm excited for the Mad Lions Coin matchup, Rob. I don't know how you feel. Maybe we can share our thoughts quickly because obviously it's going to be harder for you guys to go super in depth on this particular matchup since you're there. I'm curious if Oscar gets out of just playing Cassante every game because I feel like Merwin's going to play some shit. Mirwin, right?
Yeah,
Mirwin. Sorry, I keep calling him Merwin. Mirwin,
I think that's
going to play some stuff.
Steve Irwin.
Oh my god, yeah,
corrupt us. But yeah, and I'm super excited for this.
I feel like bot lane also Edge goes to. I think mid jungle is interesting. Like I think that's where like the matchup could be very contested. I think you and Razor have a lot of back and forth games. And I think Humanoid on paper should be stronger. Yeah. But I feel like you guys are heavily favored in bot. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I just think that Noah's had a pretty rough split, and you guys keep 2v2 killing people. Like so. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think like. And look, I favor you guys coming into the matchup, which is very weird to say when Fnatic finished second, right? But I think as you're kind of alluding to, you're just off the back of a win. I think you did very well on the bot side of it, and you should be able to win it. One of the questions that I had for you, Supa, was like, I think you're one of the best AD carries we have in the league of like what I refer to as like a kill switch, which is that moment of like, hey, I can just go in and like I'll see my moment. I remember the Lucian you were playing. It was like you were like, I'm going to dash in. It was like a dragon fight. I was like, you literally went in, you got out with like a quarter of your HP left, but you knew that was the moment where you could like turn that fight and do it. And seeing you kind of like go ham against like Fnatic as well and being able to find that like 2v3 moment as well. Is there like, what is the communication for yourself like in that moment? Are you just like, give me the moment, give me the opportunity to go in and do this? Or is it like you just see the pattern, you're like, I'm just going. Like there's just, you see the matrix in front of you.
I mean, usually when I play well, like I have it so clear in my mind. I have a plan from, I mean, I'm a guy that needs to have a plan. For example, in the 2v3, Elyoya said, you need cover. I say, if they come 2v3, I think we win it. Don't come, you know? So I'm in my brain, if he comes, I already have a plan. So it's just, you think the possible situations and you just let it go, you know? It's like the flow that people call. It's just let it go, you know? If you misplay, it's better you misplay and you learn that doesn't try. So just let it go. If you're something inside you tell you need to go, just go. If I lose the Fnatic game because I get catch 2 times, to be honest, I won't be sad because I will learn. I know I need to play different. Next game I will do better, no? If I don't try, I won't understand. So it's just let it go, no?
Yeah.
And now Fnatic has learned not to go bot lane, so it's worked out.
well, yeah, we'll see. I feel like setting a tent up around bot lane still remains the prevalent meta strategy. We'll see. I think we're on the side of Mad Lion. I mean, I know what you guys are going to predict, so we won't even ask. I think I'm also on the side.
But it is strange.
Fnatic are inconsistent, though, is what I'm saying. Sometimes they show up and they play really great games. And so while I favor you guys, I think the frustrating thing about Fnatic, and I feel this a lot of the times about G2 as well, is that sometimes they'll just show up and shit the bed, and sometimes they'll show up and they'll play really, really well together.
I do agree, though. I think the heavy lifting has to be done by like Razork and Humanoid, because I think it was like Razork's done like 34% of the team's damage on average, or like nearly.
You mean Humanoid? Yeah. Some of that's like inflated by Corki, but definitely it's concerning that it's that consistently high.
Yeah. So I think it's like mid jungle. If they can get a lead and Humanoid pops off on a Z or something like that, then maybe. But
the game definitely gets harder for you guys. Yeah, let's go to our next matchup. I would love to hear what you guys think about this one. G2 versus Giant X. You'll be facing the winner of this one. Obviously an easy G2 prediction. I think it's safe to say. Boys, I don't know if anyone feels like jumping out of the box here. Is there anything that, like, when we talk about Giant X, right, kind of barely scraped over the finish line, what do you think about this team? What do you think that they're good at? What are they bad at? And is there, like, something they can do to beat G2? Like, if you're on Giant X right now, if you're the coaching staff, is there anything that, like, you'd be like, let's do this or let's play this to kind of shut them down?
I mean, I was surprised because I think they were playing much better in scrims that they have shown up in stage. I thought they would do much better than they are doing. So I was surprised, and I think they have chances. Like, they play really well together, Giant X. I think it's their strength and their weakness that if you are not solid in mid-game or you don't have a plan in mid-game, they will run you because they are playing all the time 5 together, and they will look for peaks. They will look for these people that is discoordinated. Like, they will look to catch you a lot, and I think that's what they do the best. And I would say that G2 doesn't have that problem so much, so they might struggle against that, but they for sure have a chance. Yeah.
How did you feel playing against the bot lane of Patrick and Ignar? They had some pretty good games from what I saw. I don't remember. I'll be honest, I was kind of distracted by the Fiddlesticks Nocturne. When you guys played against each other, I wasn't really looking at you in the bottom lane as much. I'm not sure how you felt about that 2v2.
I mean, I'm a bit like Elyoya. I think in Scream they play better, but I mean, I don't, how to say, like, I don't feel like they have so clear how to play, how to snowball. I don't feel they have that much plans in how they play the 2v2, let's say. I feel it only into G2 that they have more clear the things, no? So
Yeah.
I think it's fine bot lane, and I said if you don't have clear the things, they can punish you. I think G2 bot lane kind of counter them in a way. I think this kind of bot lanes won't in a best of 3 won't work, I think. At least in my opinion. Because I feel 2 different bot lane, one bot lane that have clear what they want to do, how is their playstyle, and the other bot lane is I punish if you play bad, or at least I see it like that.
Got it. So Patrick and Ignar often just like kind of waiting for mistakes or misplays rather than figuring out exactly like, let's say level 3 we're doing this is how we win the lane, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I feel like they're so simple way to play 2v2. And I don't like this. I think it's not enough.
Yeah, I feel that, and I can get that, and I think that's something that we see. I think that's part of the reason why we see a lot of, or used to see a lot of lane gaps, is because I think that there was, for a long time in Europe, especially like 2016, 2017, the best way to play the game was kind of waiting for your opponent to make a mistake. And there were such big disparities between teams in terms of like macro. That's why like that G2 roster took over forever. Yeah, they were great players, don't get me wrong. Like you had Perks and Trick, who were just like better than most other people in the role, other than like Yankos and a couple other people at the time. But it's like, yeah, they just danced on you. Like the game was so slow back then, and I feel like a lot of people just got used to that playstyle over the years. But no, we remember Uzi contest every creep. You walk up, you try to auto. You do not get to auto for free. So I like to hear that proactive play. And it doesn't surprise me that G2 are a team that do that. Knowing Mickey, knowing Hans, obviously always wanting to push the matchup. I hope that Patrick and Ignar can grow into that. But Rob, ever since we saw like the Giant X ARAM meta doesn't inspire confidence, because it is, you guys called it out, but it's like every game at like 18 minutes they're just grouped as 5.
Yeah, they keep going with this like double TP play where it's just like they'll push out sides and then immediately both side lane or both mid and top just TP to mid and they just try and catch someone. And they got it week 1, I think it was like day 1 they got it, or day 2, and they tried again day 3, and then teams kind of just were like, oh, we just learned to respect this, and then it never really happened. So I'm curious if they can make it work, but I think it's almost like, I don't know, for me it feels like they're scared to try and play it like, oh, Jackie's push sides, because it's like they don't feel confident enough to be like they can sync up waves properly. And I think that's where G2 are going to punish you the most, where it's like if you make that one slip up or you don't get control over side lane properly, suddenly yikes there with caps and you're just like, oh well, we're screwed.
And I was impressed with Jackie's Nico games at the start of the season. I thought he did pretty well. But a lot of the other ones have been rough. The Yone games have been kind of rough this year. Like, there's been a lot of really difficult games for him. I don't know what your guys' read is on Jackie's. He's obviously a guy who kind of came out of nowhere, so a lot of people aren't going to have the history of playing against him, right? Because he was playing like Hit Point Masters in the Czech League. But like, what was your guys' read playing against Giant X? How did you guys feel about Jackie's? Because obviously he's a really interesting pickup for Giant X, just because again, he came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was, and the first scrims actually he surprised me quite well. Like, I think he was good. Like, he was doing well. What he needed to do, mostly on his Nico. Again, like, I think he was really popping off on this champ, and I was surprised. I think he did things pretty well.
Yeah,
I think I know him at least. Like from solo, I know he was pretty talented. He has good mechanics. So I think the biggest surprise is he's pretty confident. I don't think he choked or he's scared about make mistakes. So for me, it's a good surprise. Not gonna lie, I expect he will do worse. So I'm really happy for him because he looks with the balls to do it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the Yone game especially, the man is going every time. He's fishing for the 1v1, and most of them didn't go great. Like, he's just getting sidestepped by Niski every single time, but he kept going, which I guess maybe is a better way to look at it. If you're looking at Excel growing over the year rather than immediate results, is like, at least he's doing it, because there's a lot of new talent and old talent alike who just never go for the risky play. Rest in peace, Rogue. That's all I'm going to say. We were going to have time to talk about Rogue and K-Corp, but they're gone, and I want to focus on the teams ahead of us. So just the subtle dig there. Sorry, Larson. We'll see how he kind of develops as well. BDS Team Heretics is the next matchup. You guys are obviously going to play the victor of G2 Giant X, and I want to talk to you more about like the G2 matchup, but there's other games to talk about. So we'll get to that one when we get to that one next week. So yeah, BDS Team Heretics, again, I think pretty easy to favor. BDS here. They're consistent. They team fight well. Team Heretics are a bit all over the place. We've seen great Perks games. We've seen bad Perks games. We've seen good Flakked Kaiser lanes. We've seen bad Flakked Kaiser lanes. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of want to like ask you guys for your take on Heretics, because it feels like obviously you stomped them. It didn't go quite well for them in the early stages, but
that was the moment we knew the tier list was wrong. Oh,
it
does work in LEC. No.
But I feel like they can have like slow but decent early games where they kind of have a game plan as to how they want to operate. And then it looks decent at times when they get to the mid game. But then it just feels like one person is caught out when they're trying to set up an objective, or they're trying to like get set up on a side lane properly. So like, what is your read on when you look at Heretics? Do you go, oh yeah, this is a team that could be good? Or do you think it's, well, not to play into the meme, but it's a team where it's like, look, they're washed. They don't really, they'll always just kind of sit where they are at the moment.
Yeah, I think this one is pretty favored for BDS. I honestly don't see many things Heretics can do to beat them. I think they're just worse at pretty much every stage of the game. So yeah, I think BDS will take this one really easily. And again, like I would actually want Heretics to win because they have Flakked, they have these people that I like more, but yeah, I don't think they can. I think it's gonna be a BDS 2-0.
Yeah. I love the smile.
Every time you smile before an answer, I know that you have something spicy. You have some shit that you want to say, and you're like, I probably can't say that. Hold on, give me a sec.
I'm hater of Heretic roster overall. Yeah. I always say that for me this roster was top 9, top 8. I didn't like it from the beginning. I think the roster doesn't have a player to play around that. I think this is a big problem. I think this player, when they were playing with G2, I think was Caps. Even Perk's ADC, I think, for me, Perk was always better ADC than mid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. It's like that year he played, like Kaisa Xayah meta, he was the best ADC in our league, which was a crazy-ass statement to make, right?
I think he should stay ADC. If for me, if you hear me, you can go back. and I don't like the roster. I think they don't have a lane to play around that. So I think this is a big problem. And if you face BDS, that they have so clear what they want to do, we want to play like this, and it will work. It's like, for me, it's one team has so clear, and the other one is they change every game how they play. Yeah. At least how I see it. So for me, it's like one-sided for BDS.
Yeah, you got one team who knows exactly what they want to do, and another team who it does definitely feel like they're still figuring it out. Like they're not entirely sure how they want to play.
Yeah, I think it's also like it's a very strong form of BDS. Like Nuke looks absolutely insane. Sheo looks like he's found his style again. Yeah, it just seems very, very difficult to go up against BDS right now because, as you say, very much want to go, hey, we play for team fights. We're really, really good at team fights. What the hell are you going to do? And I think Heretics trying to set up for them, just it's not their style. So yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree. I think it's just going to be a BDS win.
Especially as we get to best of 3, right? That consistency matters. Like, you can't just be the team that throws random stuff out or tries shit on stage. Like, you really need to know what you're doing. That said, please keep throwing random picks out because it's a banger to cast. From a selfish casting standpoint, very, very hype, very entertaining. Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot more to say on that matchup. I think we just mosey along. Yeah, a lot of these feel a little bit one-sided. This next one may be a bit more contentious. SK versus Vitality. Who's your guys' favorite? Who would you predict in this matchup?
Maybe Vitality, actually.
The grin from Supa. What is going on in that brain, bro? I'm always curious. Vitality? Why Vitality?
I think Vitality has been playing. They have been scaling, like from week 1 to week 3. They've been playing better. Yeah. Honestly, SK, I don't think they play that well together, even though we lost to them and all of this, but I really don't think they play that well together. So I actually think that with this extra week and the scouting, I think Vitality will win. But
what part of Vitality's gameplay do you think is scaled? Like, what do you, when you say that they've scaled up, what are you looking at? I
think VTO is in a good spot. This team looks much scarier than when he's not. Like, I think they make things really easy, which, like, they know they want the Maokai, like, they want these kind of things. So, yeah, I think that they're gonna be better than SK. But I don't think this one, I think, is really contested. Like, I think it's gonna be a 2-1 for both teams. It can go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of agree. I think it's 50-50. but I will go with SK because I want Isma to win. So
I think that's fair.
I think we'll be in the bot lane. For me, like how I see it is, I think Vitality when they don't win bot lane, they have more problems than when they lose it.
Mhm.
So I think will be depend on the bot lane, on the shape. I think when SK is kind of as well to have a strong bot side or like let those leave bot lane to roam and play with the jungler. So
Mhm.
think is for me will be in the bot lane. How I see it
Yeah.
is the bot lane who plays better and make the lead, have the pressure, will have a advantage.
Yeah. And so you say it's 50-50. You feel like that bot lane can just go either way? Or is there anyone in your head that you feel like you expect to just play better on the day?
I will say 50-50. I think it's depend on the day. I think
Sure.
SK bot lane started stronger. Then now they are playing a bit worse. Vitality is similar.
Started worse. Yeah, getting a little
think
better.
It's depend. Who has the day will win it, I think.
As a bot lane enthusiast, how do you feel about Hylissang as a player? I'm curious, and I'm not trying to start shit here. I'm just curious because to me, he's obviously a player who's always trying to make things happen, and he has games where he looks like a genius, and he has games where he's like 09, right? And you kind of get both extremes. So as new AD carry coming into the league, I'm curious how you see his play style.
I mean, as a player, I think we can't play together. I think we will never play together because I don't like how he plays, and probably he doesn't like what I play. He has his own play style. I respect. I think in the past it works because the level was lower. I think it was new, his play style. He was a chaser. He went to you to stop the bugs, your tempo so hard.
Yeah.
And now when Hylissang do this, you just trap him and you kill him.
Yeah.
So I respect, but I don't like. Yeah. I think before was better.
Yeah.
Now I don't think he's in the top level that he was before.
Yeah, I do. I will say that his signature move of walking up to ignite to stop your recall and mess up tempo is something that I feel like is in every support's toolkit now. Like every support is aware when they can do that or when they can risk doing that without giving up their life. And so I wonder if there's another evolution of Hylissang coming where he's going to show us something new and something crazy. Not to discount, because again, he still had some really great games, but a lot of the things that he alone used to do are much more common now. Trying to aggressively trade flash as a melee support versus range support early on in the lane is way more common. Whereas back in the day, people just wouldn't fish for summoner spell, even summoner spell trades, knowing that they could find a kill later, right? There's so many things that he used to be the only person to do that are super common now.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I think even the kind of weird roam timings that he have and stuff as well is kind of getting figured out. Teams are spotting him on these plays. So yeah, I'm hoping that we do get another, as you say, evolution for Hilly. But looking back at the matchup, I think I'm kind of on the 50-50 as well. I think SK are super reliant on having these pushing lanes where they're okay, we can get DOS out of bot lane, work with Isma, start to roam around the map and make things happen.
Yeah.
And I think teams have gotten better at seeing that and shutting it down. So I'm curious what Vitality actually draft coming into this to try and go against it.
I feel like Irrelevant is doing so much work on this team.
Yeah.
I feel like that guy is eating pressure all the time. I feel like he makes the rest of the game so easy because he'll eat 2-3 ganks.
Yeah, Irrelevant's a beast.
And credit to him. But I worry what it looks like. Again, wacky draft in the KC game from SK with the Aatrox and Rumble just looked absolutely unplayable. But the second he was behind, the rest of the map looks so much harder for SK. And that's a single game sample size. But the inverse of that is the Lucian Nami game where they're able to win. Lucian Nami's played that entire game pressure free because enemy junglers living top, right? And it's if Executive and Dash are playing well, I think they're a good bot lane. Like you said, I think it's just a really close bot lane matchup. But if Irrelevant isn't set up for success, and I don't know what success looks like, maybe it's just Renekton and absorbing pressure. Not sure what that looks like. I feel like this team struggles a lot more. And so I'm really curious how they're going to solve that and how they're going to make that work. Because I think people are becoming more and more aware of how much Irrelevant does for SK. I don't know what your guys' read on him is. I feel like he's playing super well as far as top laners go. What do you think of that? Me saying that he's super crucial to SK's game plan. Is that fair? Or do you think I'm reaching a little bit there?
I think he's actually a big part of their gameplay. I would say that when he's having a good game, SK looks much more scary than when he's having a mediocre or bad game. You agree, no?
Yeah, I think He's been the game changer player of the team.
Yeah.
And I think when Isma and Dos are playing better and coordinate, and they have, I think the draft is really important in their team.
Yeah.
I think when they have Renekton, is worse when they have Jax or other better meta champs.
Yeah.
Or champs like Dos and Isma can coordinate better. So I think the draft will be really important as well. I think SK is easier to draft into them because the champion pool they have.
Yeah, and also their draft priorities to me always felt a little bit weird. Like it felt like they never wanted to take the easy option in some of those games. Like I don't know how you feel about Lucian or Lucian plus. I hate that shit. I talk about it every podcast. I'm so tired of this champion. And I have no doubt that given your amount of self-faith that you're going to tell me that you could make it work. But I'm just I'm sorry. Like it just looks like such a resource investment to make that champion good. And it's like so hard to actually get that payoff if the entire team isn't setting up and playing well and like making sure the Lucian can do what the Lucian wants to do. And Rob highlighted earlier, you already had some good fights on it. Like they're clearly good windows, but the amount of times we see someone draft Lucian and then just slowly lose the game is, well, 90% of the games Lucian is in. How do you feel about Lucian actually while I'm here? I've got an expert.
But you know the answer. Why you ask?
Yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, he's going to say I'm great at it and they all are.
I don't believe he's my best champ, obviously. I think the champion is the most broken ADC in the meta, but you need to be really good. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone in Europe can play it good.
Yeah.
So I think it's a waste of time. Pick it. Maybe I'm lying, and I go fanatic.
Ooh, okay. All right.
But I think in Korea you can see I don't know. I see Viper picking Lucian. It's not the same champ. If an ADC usually you have Saya, Felios, you need to wait fights. You need to set up. With Lucian, you just set up, you don't fight, you can play aggro in laning phase. You have 1,000 windows more than the rest of ADC. So if you are a good ADC, you actually can make it be a game changer champion.
Yeah. But I think the thing is, when you say 1,000 windows, there's also 1,000 more opportunities to miss, 1,000 more opportunities to fuck it up.
Yes.
But and I think that's we'll see. I feel like you've been here when I've hated on Lucian, but this is a long time thing for me, this campaign against Lucian. I hope that people can figure it out. To me, it's the same as LPL top laners, where it's like, why are they able to play Fiora? And it's like, well, they're exceptionally good at Fiora, and two, like the whole team is ready to make that shit happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lucian is not a bot lane pick. Lucian is a team pick.
Yeah.
Like everyone needs to be aligned on what you're getting out of that. Whereas I feel like Aphelios and Xayah are just like no-brainers, right? Yeah. Not that they don't take skill, just that they're guaranteed to do more as a baseline.
Full front to back. It's much easier to play around. Like on the Lucian, you need to be ready for when he jumps in. You need to cut certain spells so he doesn't get hit. Like I agree, it's much harder because he's playing way more frontline or aggressive. So he also puts you on the test of like following up what he's doing, like always having an eye on him. Yeah. Other AD carries is just wait for the team fight to happen and auto attack.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if anyone wants to bring it out what they could do. It is time. So for the bracket, let me get quick predictions actually while we have you here. We're not going to go into depth, but Phil, if you could bring up the bracket really quick. Since you're here, quick predictions. Mad Lions Koi, obviously beating Fnatic in your guys' eyes. You already said G2 beating Giant X.
Yep.
Are you beating G2 this round? Next round? You're beating G2 next round?
Yes.
Full confidence. What's the key?
The giggle.
The giggle. What's the key to victory? Give me just like TLDR. Like is it your bot lane's going to be better? Are you going to draft better? Are you going to outthink them?
Mid-game. I think mid-game because last time we already had like 5k gold lead, 4k gold lead. It's just mid-game we struggled.
Yeah.
I think if we have our own goals we're playing for what we want in game. We're gonna beat them. If again we fall in their game, it's just we're gonna slowly lose.
Is that fair? I don't want you to go into too much detail. It's like a matchup like a week away.
We will play better.
We will play better. There you go. That's all I needed to hear. All right. The other bracket, BDS getting through 50-50 on SK Vitality. Does BDS just beat whoever comes through no matter what?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. What kind of I'm aligned. I feel like it's BDS. I feel like G2, sorry guys, probably beats you in the next round. I think that's the safe bet. But I do want to see how you play against Fnatic because you're right that you did get that 4K gold lead, and I think it's harder to break G2 in mid game. It's really hard to break G2 in mid game. Like it really is hard to close a game against G2. If you do it, I'll owe you something. I don't know what it is, but because that slaps. If you guys can beat G2, beating G2 here and winning the all of winter obviously is a different task. That's a team that when they're knocked down levels up. But we'll see. Rob, thoughts? Anything?
Yeah, same idea. I mean, I'm super excited to see you guys go up against, well, all of your opposition, to be perfectly honest. But like, if beating Fnatic could be sick coming up against G2, as you say, you had that early lead. So I think it's going to be super exciting to see you guys, as you say, like feel more confident in the mid game. It's obviously something you guys are clearly working on, and getting what has already been an exceptional early game and then having that strength in the mid game as well is just going to make you guys unstoppable. So I'm excited, and I think we had you on the tier list lower down, but like you guys have completely destroyed all expectations, and I'm only excited to see what the ceiling is for you guys because it feels like it's so high.
Yeah, we might end up in a BDS S tier situation again, where we're like, if you guys get like second,
I feel like that's why we put BDS so low as well. It's like we're burned by BDS, and then I was like, all right, we'll put them low, and then we'll never get it right.
We're gonna be. It's fine. We always have our tiny biases that show through. On to community questions. Thanks to everyone who went on to X, Twitter, X, I guess is what we're supposed to call it. And ask questions. There's a lot of stuff I can't ask, unsurprisingly. Twitter friends, I can't ask those questions. It's going to get me in trouble. So we're going to get some of the more wholesome ones. Let's start off with an easy one. Frescowi, Polish player, lineup of Spanish players. How's his Spanish? Is he learning? Does he want to learn? Is that something that like is an expectation of him? I know you guys are only using English to communicate in game. Outside of, I think what Mirwin said was, let's
translate.
go. So, you can, I mean, he didn't want to say any of that stuff in the interview. The podcast is a little bit more free. Is there anything that you say that's like, what do you say when you win a team fight on your team? What are there any phrases that come to mind? I will have to ask you later if we need to censor them, because I am obviously not going to understand what they mean, or maybe Elyoya can translate some of them.
I mean, I think it's most likely Midwin. That is... you can say, no, they suck my...
yeah. You just stop there. I got you.
And into Casey, I think I said something disrespectful that I prefer not to say.
That's fine. Did it feel like a little like cathartic moment, like a little moment like a vengeance? I know it's not the full thing. I know it was in Hylissang, but did it feel good to just beat Casey in any context?
I feel good, like it's most likely Montpellier.
Yeah.
If you beat me when I was not in my best.
Yeah.
And now that should be better roster.
Yeah.
Win feels so good. It's like the revenge.
Hell yeah. But how is his Spanish? Like, you guys are communicating English in game? Is it hard to integrate him into any team things? Because I can imagine there's a lot of stuff that's like unique to growing up in Spain that you guys can joke about that like he doesn't have that experience with.
It is, and you have to like explain it, and it loses a bit of like the funny part.
Yeah, it's like when you have to tell someone the joke.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's not been a problem so far. I think like he's also been living in Spain for like 3 years already, right? And he has been doing Duolingo for, I think, 100 something days in a row. So same as Supa has in his contract to win worlds, he also... No.
Learn Spanish, yeah.
I think he's used to being around Spanish people, so his Spanish is not bad. So yeah, I think it's no problem.
That's good to hear. It's exciting.
I think Elyoya make it harder as well. He talk a lot in Spanish. During games, just random.
But is it? I mean, it's probably really nice to you for like one of the first times in your career since you've joined OSC to actually be able to speak Spanish so much, right?
So the thing is, I'm not even conscious of when I'm doing it, but then after the game, I get called out of like, "Oh, you did this in Spanish," because it feels so natural to me that if I wanna ask someone to, like, let's say Alvaro, like maybe since I think in Spanish, my instant brain just says it as soon as it comes to mind, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, what cooldowns you have? And I ask this in Spanish. And then he's like, they call me out, and I was like, sure, if you say so.
I don't remember. In my head, I just said it. I don't even know what language it came out.
I speak English all game, you know. So.
Yeah, I get that.
It's got to be hard though. Like if you speak in Spanish all day to like between each other, and then you go into game, obviously your natural instinct is to start speaking in Spanish with everyone again. So it's obviously got to be tough to try and like swap brains essentially between game and out of game.
Well, I thought it wasn't because I wasn't conscious of me speaking in Spanish. So yeah, I guess it's harder than I thought. But I mean, I don't have much problems, or I think I don't have much problem to when it comes to screams just switching to English mode because it feels more natural. We have always screamed in English. But it seems like I have some slip-ups.
Dude, I mean, I get it. To be fair, some of the language stuff in League of Legends is so funny. I don't remember what Worlds interview it had, but we had a Korean player who'd been playing in China, speaking Chinese in an interview to a Chinese person who had to translate it back into English and Korean.
It was Scout, wasn't it?
Wow.
It might have been Scout, and it's just like I don't know. Like at that point, I'm just like I don't even know, man. Like I'm just a stupid American, man. I speak like English and like half of German.
Yeah.
My only claim to fame
I mean,
is
I've Irish, but no one understands that.
it's like huge Irish esports
The only
population.
good thing about Irish is that I get to talk shit about people when I'm on holidays and no one understands me. That's the extent of it.
Yeah, it's solid. But I'm glad that he's working in impressive Duolingo streak. I love that that's like I love the clout associated with the Duolingo streak. I always think that's funny. Next question from El Albino Andres. What's so different about working with Melzet? Why do you guys like him? Why do you guys like working with him? Why do you consider him? He says the best coach to work with, but I don't know if you guys have said that in interviews.
Yeah.
So just like what's different about this guy? I want to go to Elyoya first because this is someone that you know. Like, what's your impression of him? You've worked with a couple different staffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just the best in Europe. I think the way he sees the game, like the plan he has on how to beat international teams, like everything that he does is to win. Like he's just obsessed with winning. Like he's a man. I feel like he's the coach. Like he's really obsessed with with winning and what he can do to improve to make the team better. Like I think he just lives off by League of Legends, by coaching League of Legends. So yeah, it's just an insane difference. Like it's his life. So
yeah. Is it like the sheer level of dedication? What does he bring as a coach? Because coach in League of Legends is such a weird word because so many coaches do different things. Is he like a game knowledge guy, or is he like a structure and process kind of guy? Like what is his?
I mean, his biggest strength is for sure gameplay. Like he just sees the game better than anyone else in Europe, literally. But he's also been working really hard in the other aspects of the coaching. Like I think he does insanely well on like how to bring the team together, on how to be more than a coach for you there, like he tries to understand the other players. I would say that this is also like one of the aspects that he has to get better because he gets angry a lot. He's not so easy to approach when he's angry. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just the best.
Yeah, and you've had the pleasure of working with him for a little bit of time. Like, what do you like about him? What are the favorite things that you like about working with him? Is it similar to what Elyoya has already said?
I mean, first of all, when I meet him, I see he want to win as much as I want, or I see it like this. So when I was more rookie, I was having the feeling, hey, I want a team of hard workers and be for the same, no? And the first coach I meet like this was him. So I just like fell in love. Then he started teaching me. So I see like I saw a pathing to go. So I just really, really like it. But as Elyoya said, he teach you like individually. I mean, he teach me mentality individually, how to be with the teammates, the importance of everything. He tell me, learn this book, learn. Like he teach me about everything important for esport. He has obviously bad and good things, but I think he's a game changer coach from what we have, because in Europe usually I feel like the coach I meet is most likely or they help you with the gameplay or they just want to make the group, and he try to do everything.
That's an impressive feat to do. And I can see what you mean about like him dedicating his whole self, because that's a lot. Like that's an insane amount of work, right? Like you have to be super committed to do that. And in my experience, you see analysts often in teams, and those are the guys who have higher gameplay knowledge or see the game in a way a pro player doesn't and kind of like can pose questions and challenge pro players. And then you have coaches who are more often than not, from talking to teams, structure and processes. This is how we build a good team environment. This is how we do X or Y. So it's crazy to hear that he is doing all of that, and that you guys, outside of maybe when he gets too angry, are happy with all of those things, because that's super rare. I think I would say almost unheard of, but I obviously from the West at least. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that this guy is, from the way you're selling him to me now, is an all-in-one package. Because like when you talk about your teammates, you're obviously going to tell me they're great, right? Mm-hmm. But when people talk about their coaches, there's no, you'll tell me he's good at what he's good at, but you don't need to exaggerate to tell me he can also fly. Like that doesn't come up, right? You don't need to say he's also insane at gameplay if he's not. So the fact that you've gone over that to me is like That's great. Now I want to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have got him on the podcast. Apparently he gets angry. That's what the people like.
That's where we get the clickbait.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that like really sets him off? Is it like
Yeah.
bad communication? Is it speaking Spanish mid-game? Like
no,
what?
no, I think it's mostly when we don't play our game. It's what triggers him most. When we, for whatever reason, we are not playing how we know, or we are just not. We are afraid to engage. We are afraid to do our mistakes that we usually do. That's his biggest trigger. That's like his 0 to 100.
When you don't use your potential that he thinks you have.
Yeah. Oh, that's intimidating.
It's kind of motivating.
That's
at the same
also
time, though.
intimidating, bro. This guy sounds like he's like an esports dad. Like you cannot let this man down. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
just so you know, his favorite coach, or like I think his model at the beginning was CB Max.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool and
Next question.
I have a lot of concerns about the CV Max thing, but it does put a lot of stuff into context. But I will say that I'm glad to hear that your experience has been good. We'll leave it at that on the CV Max front. There's a lot of questions about the tier list. There's a lot of stuff, etc. I'm gonna mix in a question here because based on something from myself that you guys were talking about earlier. You're a podcast aficionado.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, you guys are listening to podcasts together. Is there any recommendations, Spanish or English, for the audience out there? Is there anything that you guys are like consistently engaging with that you're like really fired up about that you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 fast podcasts that I hear close, like in the last 2 months. The first one in English is like David Goggins' podcast. I think it's pretty good, from Joe Rogan.
Yep.
And in Spanish, like one about Ferran Torres, that is from Football Club Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
You see his mindset from a guy that is, obviously he's in the top, no?
Yeah.
But that guy that mentally is weak, you can see he's saying what worked for him. And then the EUphoria pod, you can see, you put in YouTube and you have a lot. These whole podcasts are about mentally, that I believe, now that we go players, you win in mentally, not in gameplay. Like caps can be better than you individually, but if mentally you are 10 times more confident, maybe your play works because this.
Yeah, Caps is funny because he's such a unique player in terms of mental. Like, obviously, there was a bit of some performance issues. I think it was last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he's been untouchable. And it's funny because there's a lot of players who I think are like really conscious of performance, but he's just a guy who just like I think naturally enjoys the game.
Just vibes. Yeah.
And he's just a goofball, right? Which is so weird. It's like the exact opposite of you. You're like focused, you're like determined, and you're like, I need to have this winner's mental, and he's just laughing the whole time. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a crazy contrast. Elyoya, anything you'd like to add? Anything that you guys are fired up about?
Yeah, I think a podcast that works really good for both of us is Mr. Empirico and Mr. Tartaglia.
What? Supa can't.
It's just 2 connoisseurs of life. They will just teach you on how to escape the matrix.
Oh, okay. We're all in the Matrix. Is
Yeah,
that
we're all in the Matrix,
okay, cool.
So,
Well, glad they have League of Legends in the Matrix, I guess. If that's
I was just watching Supa to see if that water just like he was struggling with it.
I set you up to talk about it, but you wanted to keep it professional. I respect that. All right. I don't know if I'm going to understand anything, but I'll check those out. Well, one of them's obviously you mentioned the one in English, but we'll see.
We'll just get the subtitles. It'll be all right.
Get the subtitles
Yeah.
fired up.
Yeah.
See how we can escape the Matrix. Gentlemen, thank you again so much for coming on. Your game is going to be this Sunday, right?
Sunday after the first best of 3.
That's true. I trust you. I forgot entirely. I thought it was Saturday. Anyway, game starts Saturday at 5 p.m. Central European time. And yeah, you can watch these fine gentlemen play versus Fnatic on Sunday, excuse me. It's going to be a banger. This is where the league gets really fun for me. I think best of ones are okay. It's cool. You get a little taster. This is where, the real
I think it's
players
actually
are
get to
forged.
prep for each other. You get to like really deep dive onto a team, and then it actually feels like you get the best of both sides.
Yeah.
It's sick.
And now if you get a 4K gold lead and lose in the mid game, you get another shot. You know what I mean? And now if the Fiddlesticks, Nocturne doesn't work out, you don't play your game, your coach yells at you and you get to try again. It's going to be, it's a banger. I'm excited about it. Thank you, Supa, for coming on for the first time. Elyoya, thank you for coming back. Always a pleasure to have you. And tune in this weekend, Saturday, 5 p.m. this time zone. This has been EUphoria, episode 3. We'll see you next week.